Welcome to KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making KC a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Bombigas. Kansas Cityans love their pro and collegiate sports teams, whether it's the Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting KC, or the KC Current, the Jayhawks, Wildcats, and Tigers. We cheer on our teams, attend their games, or watch on TV, and we follow them religiously through social media. Just a year and a half ago, our town got a new media outlet that's covering all of our teams in a new and exciting way, the KC Sports Network. In addition to making a dent in the local sports media marketplace, KC Sports Network is giving back to the community through its new foundation. And here to share the breaking news of a new nonprofit doing good in the neighborhood is founder and CEO, BJ Kissel. BJ, welcome. I'm so glad we could pin you down. You're a busy guy.
It's been a crazy year and a half, but I'm so glad we finally have been able to do this. You and I have been talking since probably the KC Sports Network was originally created, and you knew that this was always a focus for us, getting a foundation going and some of the things that we wanted to do in the community. So I'm excited to finally have time to sit here and talk to you about it.
That's great. All right. For those folks who may not know about the network, tell us a little bit about what it is, kind of why you formed it, why you gave birth to another big project for you.
Yeah, I've been covering, the Kansas City Chiefs on different platforms in the area for, almost 13 years at this point. And, I think, the way that digital media and the way that sports media coverage with the rise of social media and podcasting and YouTube and, Substack newsletters and all this, like it's always changing. And I think it's going to continue to change. And we're seeing that happen more so now than we ever have. And so, when I've been on all these different platforms and figured out different ways and creating content in all these different ways, the important thing for us was trying to create something that was kind of leaning into new media and leaning into some platforms that were growing. More people are listening to podcasts now than they were 5 years ago. It's the number one medium out there that's growing in terms of sports coverage and the way people are consuming content. And so for us, it was important whether, you're listening, watching, or reading, those are the three ways people consume content. And for us, it was find three platforms that you can do that with. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those different places you can listen to your podcast, and then the video coming through YouTube. And then obviously, our daily newsletters coming out via Substack. It's kind of similar to the traditional media with newspapers, traditional radio, and sports television. It's kind of the new age media of podcasting, YouTube, and the email newsletters. And so for us, it was, find people who were really passionate about the different sports teams. We started with Kansas City Chiefs. It was my, focus. I have a handful of my friends that we started this with that have been covering the Chiefs for a long time as well. And we said, why don't we get together, start our own platform and really grow this and see what we can do with it, and find people that are similar to us and that, very passionate about, one particular field and really lean into that as opposed to, a couple of people talking about everything. We find a lot of people to talk very specifically about, what they care most about. And so it started with Chiefs. We've got about 18 shows a week right now on the network, whether it's YouTube, podcasting, wherever that we put out. And then we started covering KU, K-State, and Mizzou. We've got Royals coverage. We've got a show called Our Stories that focuses on women with ties to Kansas City that are, influential sports figures. And so Marlia Campbell hosts that show for us. It's been doing really well. Really excited about all the different things that we have going on.
Well, kudos to you for doing a woman's show. That's great. Love that, love that, love that. So you're a commercial entity. You're chugging along, hopefully making a profit or getting close to that with this new thing. But I know at the heart of it, you've wanted to do more than just bring sports. Can you share a little bit about why and what that's all about for KC Sports Network?
Yeah, I appreciate me asking. I know that we're here to talk about the foundation. It's been crazy to start, KC Sports Network as its company and all the stuff that we do, but it was always important to us to find a way to make, and I've used this before, you've probably heard me say this, about making a tangible difference in our community from a digital company. And then a lot of what we're creating, we're not creating a product that is tangible with what we're doing with the network. We're creating content. We're, using, our knowledge and our research and all those things to create interesting and engaging content to bring fans closer to their teams. And so in a lot of ways, we're really distracting people from work during the day or helping people pass the day, whether, they're doing laundry, out on a walk, working out, just driving in their car, whenever they're listening to our shows or watching our shows. It was important to us that there was something a little bit deeper and a little bit more meaningful behind what we're doing, that we all care about. And it just makes it feel that much better with what we've done over the past year. In general with community efforts. And now that we've started a foundation, a 501c3, we're going to be able to do even more that we're really excited about. And so being able to give back to the community and really feel like we are making a difference, even, with a very small company, not raising a ton of money relative to some other places, but it feels good for us and any little bit can help. And I feel like anybody out there that has any kind of platform that, people are paying attention to or, garners people watching it, I think there's a responsibility for those people to give back and to do things within the community that, they're trying to get their product out to.
Let's take a deeper dive into that. Can you share a little bit about the things that you've done before you created a foundation? Then I want to talk about the challenges of creating a foundation in and of itself.
Yeah, I think it started, even before I had started, KC Sports Network. I think, going back when I was still working for the Kansas City Chiefs at the beginning of COVID, I think is where a lot of, I learned a lot about, giving back to the community. We did a program. It was my wife and I, at the beginning of COVID, we did something called Feed It Forward. And we still are doing it now. It's taken on a few different iterations, but going back a couple of years, the beginning of COVID, we had this idea that, we knew that we had friends who were in healthcare and that were working at hospitals and nurses and things like that. And, they were talking about how overrun they were and how overworked and how much they were begging people to be smart and be careful and all those things that we've all, lived through for the past couple of years. And, sitting at home being told, not to go anywhere, not to do anything, you feel kind of helpless and you want to give back, you want to help. That's the way that my wife and I are both wired. And so I was talking with a friend of mine who at the time was working at Jack Stack Barbecue. And he was talking about how restaurants were hurting and they couldn't, a lot of them weren't set up necessarily for all the carry out deliveries and the mass, people not coming into the store, but there's a lot of just logistical things that the entire restaurant industry really had to figure out on the fly. And they have catering, employees that weren't getting the hours because they were based on the amount of work. And so the trickle down effect of, what that did of shutting down restaurants and all of that was hurting so many different people. And so I was talking with my wife and we were trying to figure out a way. It's like, okay, how can we, help as many people as possible? And the idea was, we were going to donate, so we were going to buy some, Jack Stack lunches and just send them to a hospital to feed some nurses as like a thank you. Not a huge gesture, not anything that's going to, extend beyond the 15-minute break or hopefully 15, probably closer to 5 minute break that nurses could stop and have a meal. And we put out on, my personal Facebook, does anybody know how to get food into a hospital right now? Is this possible? And I had a few people reach out and say, hey, this is what you do. It's a really good idea. What's your Venmo? How can I donate and help? I think it's a good idea. And so within my personal Facebook and personal Twitter, put out a few messages. And I think within, 4 hours, we had like $5,000 or $6,000 raised already. And I started freaking out because that was so much money and I wanted to be transparent with everything. I was like, I don't know, this is going a lot bigger than we thought. And so we ended up partnering through Jack Stack, had a couple other people that had reached out that wanted to do things. A guy named Trey McDonald had a very similar idea. And long story short, we created a GoFundMe and continued to raise money. I think we ended up raising about $52,000 here in Kansas City, sent about 17,000 Jack Stack meals to 21 hospitals around the Kansas City area over the course of, 6 weeks, right at the very beginning or the heart of, COVID, when everything was shut down before everybody really, figured things out as far as, masks and all that kind of, it was the very beginning of all this going back to like March, April of, 2020. And so the coolest part of it, Ruth, was that the Feed It Forward idea got picked up by friends of mine from Facebook that I haven't talked, friends from high school I haven't talked to in years. They liked the idea. They saw it. They're like, we're going to do this in our community. And it spread. And they did a Feed It Forward in Denver. They did a Feed It Forward in Orlando. And then randomly Delaware Hills did it. Ended up raising $99,000 around the country and fed hospitals and nurses at hospitals all around the country from just a really simple idea of people donating money for us to buy Jack Stack to help the restaurants, to give the catering employees. And at one point I had all the stats of how many hours it added for, catering employees that weren't getting work otherwise. And then you step back from that campaign, which was probably the most special thing that my wife and I have talked about it did, because we didn't have this plan to make it this huge thing. We were trying to send, 20 meals to one hospital, and it turned into this humongous thing. And it just reminded me, or really instilled in me that, if you have a platform and you have a good idea and you're coming from the right places and you truly are trying to help a lot of different people and make things make sense for everyone, you can do good. And it doesn't matter if the idea is really small or you have this really big idea. As long as you're coming from the right place, things can generally work out and you can help people. And so once we did that, fast forward a couple of years and we start KC Sports Network, we had taken that Feed It Forward idea. And the next iteration was we sent 100 cookies every Friday to teachers last fall as a thank you to teachers with everything that they were dealing with in COVID. I come from a family of teachers. My mom was a teacher. My sister's a teacher out in Overland Park, in an elementary school. And so we wanted to do a thank you to teachers. So we sent 100 cookies every Friday, ended up delivering about 1,500 cookies last fall, 15 different deliveries to different schools around. And now Feed It Forward, sorry, I keep talking, but Feed It Forward's third iteration. And I think we're going to stay with this for a while, because Feed It Forward, I took a tour of Hope Faith Ministries in downtown Kansas City, and the name of Feed It Forward and learning about food insecurity issues, it just had a whole different meaning for me. And not that nurses didn't deserve barbecue or teachers don't deserve all the cookies in the world. But there's a lot of people in our community that, just want a really good meal, and they don't necessarily always have that ability. So we had partnered with Hope Faith Ministries for our third iteration of Feed It Forward, and provided lunches once a month from different local restaurants that we had teamed up with to bring them meals. And so that's what we're hopefully going to continue to do with the foundation as we raise more money and do more things, is continue working with Feed It Forward to help feed the homeless, and then some of our other projects as well.
I think it's incredible what you're doing. And I think it's such a great reminder that, things, the littlest idea can blossom, and, it's organic. And if you just hit the right spots, now I think you're smart and savvy enough, the value of digital positivity, which I think is great. Yeah. There's so much negativity out there that I love what you're doing in terms of, let's get it off the politics. Let's get it off of, even the controversy in sports world. Let's find that sweet spot, where you can go. Why did you guys and gals, decide to create a foundation to do this, as opposed to, let's just keep doing what we're doing?
I think it's the ability to do more. As we started a young company and, went into an S Corp status and started bringing on full-time employees and hiring a CPA and a bookkeeper and going through all of the business side of things, it was never my intention to do any of this stuff. And I have some funny stories. I don't know if I should share, but going through and not necessarily knowing all the business side of, you do something and it's like, hey, this isn't a tax. I know you're doing a good thing and you're doing a community event, but this isn't a tax write-off for you the way that you're structured. You can try something else. And I was like, no, we're going to do this. I'm not doing this because it's a tax write-off. I'm doing this because I want to help. And I do that enough. And then CPA and some other people like, hey, just start a foundation and more businesses and more people could help you do more things. And you can still do the same things that you're doing, but you can do a lot more of it if you understand the business. You create a 501c3 and literally set everything up the same way. And make things tax deductible for businesses that want to help support what we are doing, or for people who want to make bigger donations to support what we are doing. All of those things can still happen, and we can still function the same way that we are. And it becomes a lot cleaner from a business end. But the draw for me was you can continue expanding the things that we're doing. And if it ever gets to a point where I'm not with KC Sports Network, we do anything, I'm probably going to be working in a nonprofit sector somewhere. It's something I'm passionate about. I've been that way since I was younger. I love giving back. I love giving my time to try and help. And, when somebody comes with an opportunity or, setting up something from a business sense that allows us as a company, and it's not just me, everybody that we brought onto the network, we have 31 contractors right now. There's a handful of us that got this thing started together. Every single person who's a part of what we're doing loves what we're doing within the community and supports it and wants to lean in and help do even more. And so we're all wired the same way and have an opportunity to change some things, create a foundation, and do even more. It was a pretty easy decision.
Lucky community that you're doing this. All right. Well, we know though, we should say many nonprofits know it's not an easy journey to get that 501c3. So how did you go through that? Did you have helpers?
Yes, I had my CPA, our CPA for KC Sports Network helped do a lot of the paperwork and set it up. But to your point, it was, there's a lot of little things, a lot of paperwork, a lot of, being very intentional about what you're doing, how you're going to do it, and then separating that from the business, and that you have to treat it like it's its own entity and its own separate thing. It's got its own bank account, its own, paperwork, its board of governors, all its legal paperwork. I mean, you've got to I guess I had multiple people helping. My lawyer helped me set up a lot of the paperwork and all the different things that we had to do in that regard. A CPA, helped set up a lot of that stuff. I talked to people that, had their own foundations or had done similar things and kind of the problems that they had run into, just from a business, working with the government to get the stuff approved and working through the IRS to get, your tax exempt status through, and all of that. But, you surround yourself with good people and things become pretty smooth if you're doing things for the right reasons and you just kind of follow the steps of what you need to do. It's not too difficult, but you got to surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, understand kind of the spirit at why you're doing things, and be very clear on your objectives. And that was one of the things I was going to mention based on what you just said is, it's lucky community for us, but, the reason that all of this has worked and the reason that we've been able to help a lot of people is that people within the community in Kansas City, they want to help other people. And I think, just seeing some other foundations and some other things that people have done, I think, and not that I'm an expert in this in any way, but the simpler the message is, as far as you donate, this is exactly where it's going. And we're going to be transparent about everything that we're doing, because people, I think, and nowadays are just cynical in general. And they want to know, okay, exactly how is this working? And the more I'm transparent about everything, it's like, this is exactly how it's working. There's no hidden motives, hidden agendas here. That donate here. This is where the money's going. And we'll show you all the people that we're helping. And I think, the generosity of people within the community supporting what we're doing has allowed this to work. It's we can be the kind of the conduit between the two, between the people in the community and the people who need the help. That's how I see ourselves, just kind of connecting those people together. The generosity comes from people in the community.
We're talking with BJ Kissel. He is the founder and CEO of KC Sports Network and its foundation. And we're talking about what they're trying to do in the community and making a difference. How, you explained, the folks that you had started with. As you move forward, what do you envision for the foundation? And are there buckets that you want to stay in? Because there's a lot of need out there.
Yeah. And that's probably the biggest thing for me as somebody that, I'm kind of a bleeding heart. You tell me you need help, I'm going to do whatever I can to move heaven and earth to try to help somebody. And that there are a lot of great organizations out there. There's a lot of people who need a lot of help in a lot of different ways. And for us, it's just finding the ones that, speak to us, that we can be very clear. And I don't want to say simple in a bad way, but just be very simple about what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. And so, I talked about the feed it forward and being very straightforward about exactly, how we're executing, that program. And we've got another program that we started. I guess we have another one that we did last year, our Soul of KC Holiday Raffle. We had some items that were donated to us that we had people buy raffle tickets for a chance to win. 100% of the money that we got from the raffle tickets went to purchasing toys for Operation Breakthrough's Christmas store. I mean, it was just buy tickets for a chance to win this stuff, and all the money is going to go to Operation Breakthrough. I talked with Jennifer down there about, what they needed most and all the help that they needed with the Christmas store. And she had told me that, at that time, a lot of people, when they're donating toys, they think about the young kids. The kids are, 2 to 5 years old. Not a lot of people are necessarily thinking about the kids who are 8 to 14. And so she told us, like, sporting goods. Sporting goods is what you want. That's what the kids love. And so if you can get us sporting goods, that would be perfect. And so you tell a sports network to get sporting goods, we went to. And selfishly, it was probably one of the coolest days that we've ever had at KC Sports Network. It was myself, Ken Swanson, Craig Stout, Matt Lane, and Tucker Franklin went to Dick's Sporting Goods out in Overland Park. And we had raised just under $14,000 for that program. And we went and spent $14,000 in one day at Dick's Sporting Goods, which if you ever watch like Supermarket Sweep or all those like game shows back in the day, we just start grabbing stuff off the shelves. That's what we did. So as much as we were helping others, like I've always wanted to do that from the time I was a kid, of just walking into a store and just grabbing everything you possibly could and whatever you wanted, just like shelves of footballs and dumping them in a basket. But, doing stuff like that to help Operation Breakthrough to make sure that, every kid in Kansas City has a great Christmas. I mean, that's a very simple, straightforward thing that we did. It was very simple to execute. Similar, I think you know this, but this is the new one that we're doing this year. And since the Chiefs haven't had a lot of home games yet, we've done it just a few times. But the My First Game campaign is something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that we are going to continue to do in the future. That's a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Kansas City, and this idea is simple. We are donating tickets from our partners at Tickets for Less as part of our deal with them. We're donating 4 tickets to the Boys and Girls Club to every Chiefs home game to send kids to Arrowhead who've never been, who wouldn't otherwise have the resources or the ability to go to a game, and really give them an experience that they would probably never have otherwise. And so being able to do things like that and have, guy named Christian Gumminger is our community outreach coordinator now. Somebody that had supported what we're doing at KC Sports Network. He was a subscriber, and he reached out and said, "I love what you're doing with the foundation. I love what you're doing in the community. How can I help in any kind of way?" And it was like, well, if you want to help organize some of these things as we grow and get bigger and more things become available, we're going to need somebody to help manage this stuff. And that's what Christian is doing. But Christian is going to every Chiefs home game and meeting the kids and making sure that they get what they want. He's taking them to the team store, and we're buying them, some Chiefs gear before the game through the foundation as well. So these kids have a phenomenal experience going to Arrowhead that a lot of us that, grew up in different ways. And we had season tickets with my dad, and I went from the time I was probably 6 years old until I was graduated high school. I went to every Chiefs home game with my dad. And I know that that's not necessarily the case for everyone. Doesn't have the ability to do that. And so to share that experience that we as Kansas Cityans take so much pride in and give that experience to people that might not have it was something that and the idea popped in my head. I called Jason Roth at the Boys and Girls Club, and I was like, I want to do this. And he's like, absolutely. This is awesome. And so really excited about that program. It's something that we're going to lean into and we can expand on really easily. But those are a few of the programs we're doing that I feel really, really good about.
And you have your first golf tournament coming up.
Yes, Saturday, October 15th, up at Sunflower Hills. When we had started the foundation, a lot of the people on the network and our supporters said, well, you start a foundation, you got to do a golf tournament. That's what you do when you have a foundation. So really excited. It's been a lot of work. Never put anything on like that before, gone through the process. I've learned a lot about how these things work, because there's so many, charities out there, and so many of them do golf tournaments, that there's a lot of examples of things to do out there. And I've leaned on people that have done them before and asked a lot of questions, but we've got a lot of really cool things planned, a lot of giveaways, a lot of hole-in-one contests, a lot of raffle items that we're going to give away for people to come out and, support, the foundation and what we're doing. But more importantly, I just want people to come out and have a good time. I think that's been the focus from the beginning, is to make sure that that's possible. And our friends at Holiday Distillery are the presenting sponsor of the charity golf tournament. They're going to make sure they do everything in their power to make sure everyone has a good time. And like I said, we've got a lot of fun contests, a lot of giveaways, chance at winning, everything from a VIP trip to Vegas for the Chiefs Raiders game at the end of the year, to, State Farm sponsoring a hole-in-one contest where you can win a hot tub. Because Ruth, I remember those commercials, can I get a hot tub back in the day? Those State Farm commercials. Well, I called State Farm and said, I want you to do a hole-in-one sponsor and you can win a hot tub, and we can do a play on that commercial from like a decade ago. And they thought it was hilarious. So that's little breaking news. Haven't put that one out there yet, but that's going to be one of the whole sponsors. So fun things like that. And again, all of it's to raise money so we can expand on our Feed It Forward program, our My First Game campaign. We're doing a book drive with Emprise Bank, one of our network partners this year, that we have basically sponsored the first grade, all the first graders at University Academy in Kansas City, Missouri, and then all the kindergartners at Roseland Elementary in Roland Park, Kansas. And we are providing books to that entire class, all of the classes in that grade level for both those schools for the entire year. And the idea is next year, when the University Academy kids go to second grade, we'll provide books for them as second graders. And then when Roseland, when they go to first grade, then we'll provide that class books and kind of adopt that class all the way through high school and provide books for those kids. So on the first week of every month, we're doing it here pretty soon. We're going to go deliver the books for this month and to go in and give those kids books that they can take home and they can own. It's been a really cool new partnership that we've done, and that's another one that's new to this year that we're excited about. And then we're able to track, the reading comprehension scores and how and what kind of difference it's making to put books in the hands of kids at that age.
Where can our audience go find out about everything the foundation's doing?
That's a great question. So we don't have any social media accounts as of right now, specifically for the foundation. You can follow us at KC Sports Network on all of our social platforms where we post a lot of that stuff. All the donations as of right now, we're just going through our Venmo account, and we'll provide receipts and tax, for the tax deductible receipts and all of that stuff. But mostly on social media, you can find all of our stuff. It'll continue to grow and expand as we get this thing started. It's only about a month old officially with the foundation. Even though we've been doing a lot of these things for a lot longer than that. We're excited to continue to build and get support in any way that we can.
Well, I love it. We had the breaking news. I happened to see on social media that you finally landed with a foundation. It's like, I got to call BJ. We've been talking about all this good stuff for a long time. So I wanted to make sure.
I'll tell you the most exciting one, though, and I should have led with this. One person at our golf tournament, we're going to raffle off, for a bunch of different items. You have a chance to win a set of like Sticks golf clubs. You're going to get a chance to win a lot of different prizes from local partners of Jackson Family Wines. Third Street Social is donating some gift cards and a lot of stuff that we have. But one of the raffle items is going to be one person at the end of the tournament is going to get a chance to hit a shot from the fairway on the 18th hole. And if they make it, it's $1 million. Like $1 million. So one person is going to get a shot from a decent distance. I think it's 165 yards, at least for the insurance on it. But one person is going to get raffled off, chance to hit from 165 yards for $1 million. So like I said, we're trying to do a lot of cool things, make it exciting for everybody that comes out, have food and drinks provided and all that stuff. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, call your pal, Dante Hall. He's quite the golfer. He might take you up on that just to see if he can make it. You're doing wonderful things, BJ. This is great. Is there any way or any role for volunteers to jump in at this point and help the foundation?
Yeah, anyone can reach out. My email is just bj@kcsportsnetwork.com. We need more volunteers for the golf tournament. We have a lot of contests, a lot of different things going on. A lot of local businesses are supporting us. Just found out this week, Guys Chips is going to provide some snacks for us out on the course for everybody who's playing. So we got a lot of things going on, and we could always use more help. The more people that help, the more cool things that we can do. And so anybody can reach out to me via email, and we'll definitely find some places to help. But everything from helping us serve the food when we go down to Hope Faith once a month for the Feed It Forward, everything from that to helping with the book drives and the My First Game. There's always room for more volunteers and more people to help if they want to help support what we're doing.
Do you sleep?
Yeah, a lot more than I did about 6 months ago. But yeah, I'm figuring it out. It's anybody who started a small business and knows anybody who has, it's you got to do everything yourself. Everything from filling out every piece of paperwork to going to pick things up. It doesn't matter what it is. It's you, and you got to go do it as you grow and build, and then you bring more people on. And luckily, I'm surrounded by some amazing people that really, really do help. But yeah, it's you start something and it starts to work and people start to support what you're doing. It just motivates you to try to do even more. And finding that balance has been a fun challenge for myself. I'm wired to work. I'm wired to go. I've always been that way, motivated to do everything I can to help as many people as possible and build something and come through for the people that we started this company with. And so that's where a lot of my motivation comes from, to come through for the people that trusted me and give back to the community that I grew up in, that I'm going to spend the rest of my life and raise my kids with my wife.
Thank you, BJ, and thank you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice, produced by Charitable Communications. This segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Huffman Foundation. You can spread the love and find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and on Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And catch us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares.